everybody doing tonight? If you're feeling good, make some noise. If you're happy to be alive, just put a hand in the air. Glad that everybody has a hand in the air. I would have been worried. My name is Baxter Wordsworth. This is the poet. Sometimes I feel like I'm Andre 3000. When I come around, son, ask where's my album. Some say took a vow of silence like devout monks. Some bang on my old sounds like some loud drums. Wow. Proud to announce new music coming out. Starting from the bottom, building from the ground up. Yo, yelling cowabunga when I crowd surf. No. Before I crowd run, I'd rather couch surf. From the underground dirt. Sowing seeds, growing stems, leaves through the semen of your town church. Worship the pen that scribbles a blissful hymn. Good universal verses, my girl was a crystal gem. Kiss amber, smoke amethyst rock. Amethyst rock, some hot like lit candle wicks mixed with sick cancer sticks. Rain, sleet, and hell. Exhale, Kim Shells posted on the corner moving letters like Excel. Put your hands up high if you feel the vibe. This is the poet will be televised. It's all honest, I ain't telling no lies. Welcome. The poet will be televised. That's right, oh good, you're feeling alive. This is the poet will be televised. This is the poet will be televised. Make sure you sign the list. You wanna rock. Well, it's bound to dissolve. Me, I just found profound new resolve. That's right, I be down for the cause. Can you please give this band a freaking round of applause? They dope as shit though. Switch it out like a schizo. It was like your Baxter. You know you gon' rock it from the top, from the get-go. I was like, yeah, let your mama and the kids know. They was like he jumping, like he skip rope. And it's just getting dope. Yeah, don't get dope. I would like to bring to the stage.
Hello. Welcome to the Poet Podcast. I am your host, Dale Novella of Direct Life / Dale Novella Presents. And once again, this is the Poet Podcast. We have an amazing table of, I was going to say black men. I think I've told that joke before, though. So
wait, why is it a joke?
It's not a joke, but it is a joke. Like the way I say black men, it's kind of like,
okay.
Awkward.
Nah.
I got to be on the microphone. Awkward. Okay.
So, but we do have an amazing panel today. And on my left, starting with Mr. Baxter Wordsworth.
Wow.
He is
you don't
the
ever,
host.
You don't ever start with me. I'm excited.
He is the host of all hosts in New York City.
Yeah.
He is a rapper, an amazing rapper, part-time comedian, full-time barista manager.
Yeah, those are all true things.
And he made a couple like thought-provoking videos on Instagram.
Did I?
You did one. It was like a short story. It was like, when it's raining and the world is dark.
Yeah.
You need coffee.
You're talking about my 1-minute movies.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm an artist of all art that I can get my hands on. Mm-hmm. But how are you, Dale?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Just finished playing a game of basketball with some other artists, so I'm a little tired. Mm-hmm. But I'm happy to be here. We took a hiatus.
We did.
I'm happy to be back. I lost my phone recently. That sucks. But it also feels a bit free, you know?
Yeah.
To be not attached from the Matrix.
You're still in the Matrix, buddy.
I'm a little less in the Matrix. I'm like halfway in now. Recently, we just had the EO Dub World Finals. Osiris Anthem took home the championship.
Wait, what is EO Dub?
End of the week. It was previously the longest running weekly hip hop open mic in New York City. Now currently the longest running whenever we feel like it open mic in New York City showcase. Lupe Fiasco, Mickey Fax judged. Immortal Technique rocked. Homeboy Sandman rocked. Mickey Fax got up there and rapped. Lupe rapped. And we had the MC challenge. It was a very dope night. And the winner, Osiris Anthem, will be representing New York City in Belgium at the end of the month. So that's going to be dope.
Are you going?
No, not this year. I'm all Europed out. I've been to Switzerland, Prague, France. I'm not trying to go back to Europe. You know what it is? because you spend money. You know, it's not.
Yeah.
You spend money and you don't make money while you're out there.
That's true.
So you know, it's not. It's fun until you've done it, and then it's like I don't need to keep doing it.
Facts.
If it was in South Africa, though, I would be there.
Go.
Why not Ghana?
I would be there if it was anywhere in Africa.
Even North Africa?
Any other continent, I probably would have went except Antarctica. I'm not going to Antarctica.
I got 2 words for you, 3 syllables.
What's that?
Tax write-off.
Yeah, that's true.
Tax.
Make sure you save your receipts.
Bruh, you know what? I don't want to give too much away because this is recorded.
No,
But we'll talk offline.
No,
Tax.
You're not supposed to be talking anyway because you ain't been introduced.
But you know
Oh,
what?
sorry.
That's an ill segue because if anybody's okay, sorry.
I'm not getting the dope intro today.
Anywho, next up on the lineup, the man in red, the love of my life, international rap superstar,
International.
hip hop lecturer, teacher, and savior of the youth, particularly the black and brown youth.
Clearly failing there.
Facts. No, not facts that you're failing.
We knew which one
that
you're talking
doing
about.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. McCalamine, aka FKA, the hired gun. How you doing?
I'm all right. I'm hanging in there. A little tired. But you know. Yeah, I'm good.
Word.
Are we good?
Yeah.
Mic check 1 2 1 2. Yeah.
What's going on with you?
What's going on with me? Let's see. What isn't going on with me? It's real right now. You're getting extra sarcastic, Mikhail, today. Next week, I will be, for the 3rd year running, the host of Restoration Rocks, which is the kickoff for Restoration Plaza's just kind of like fall season of events, dope outdoor festival and concert that happens in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, Brooklyn all day. This year, we have very special headliners, Miss Nona Hendricks.
Yes.
And
What is Nona Hendricks from? For those who don't know, what is her biggest project?
For the uninitiated.
Oh, why you put me on the spot? I just know she's a legendary rock singer.
Oh wow, Radar. Do you know?
Yes, Professor.
Okay.
I was going to wait till I was introduced, but she was part of LaBelle.
Yes, LaBelle.
I did know that. Dope. Trivial Pursuit fail. Trivial Pursuit. But there's also another special guest that's going to be there, which is like I'm going to try not to fanboy out because I will be sharing air and space with this gentleman, Big Daddy Kane.
He's
Big Daddy Kane.
He's a
Your favorite
phenomenal
rapper?
performer.
My favorite rapper of all time. Of all time. So I'm excited. It's going to be a fun weekend. Been teaching upstate, and I hopefully will have some more news soon. But planning the spring, sorry Baxter, Euro tour.
Oh, you gotta apologize.
Headed to Europe. And I got some cool homies coming in as well. DJ Coldcut, who did the boarding pass, is going to be here in the States, and some other cats. So look out for some possible things that we might be getting into while they're here.
Yeah.
You did something really interesting last night. What was that?
Whoa. I'm joking.
Oh yeah. Well, you're right. Like yeah. Yes, so there is a Festival of the New, which is a whole festival celebrating philosophy at the New School. They're celebrating the 100th year. And I was one of the guest readers for an amazing novelist. Her name is Desphine, and she wrote a novel called Vernon Subutext, which is a fictional novel about a gentleman from the early to mid 80s who falls on hard times in the new millennium. And it's her way of discussing a philosophy of life and how to live through the kind of destitute trajectory of this gentleman, Vernon Subutext, and all of the surrounding characters there. And so it was a 6-hour reading, and I was backed by my DJ Boo. Shouts to Boo in the building. He's actually headed out to Russia tomorrow morning for a week of workshops and shows, but he took some time and spun some tunes and kind of backed me while I read from this very interesting novel for about an hour.
You say it talks about the meaning of life. What do you believe the meaning of life is?
Right now?
Well, you have a line from a song we have together.
Oh, why are you doing Trivial Pursuit right now? So
It's your line.
LaBelle. 14.
LaBelle, right. The answer LaBelle. So full disclosure, like literally, I'm on 4 hours of sleep over the past 36. So brain is not functioning
Okay.
at max capacity.
Well-
so I can't even remember my own name right now. So
I know it. I know your name.
Yes.
And I know the line.
Give me the line.
On our song, Pretty, that we recorded in Germany,
oh,
Mikal says the meaning of life is just to live.
that is true, and I stand by that. That is exactly. It's fake deep.
And also, the song is on iTunes. Buy it.
Shout out to Dale for pulling out Mikkel's lyrics.
Yep.
I'm 0 for 2. Do not be a Trivial Pursuit partner with me. I clearly
No,
will
it's
fail.
it's really sad. Any kind of trivia game, it's just like, Mikal, you know this answer. I don't know it. Like, what?
Oh, you're talking about Joshua's. Yes. See, I have a really bad record with trivial games. Anyway,
Yeah. Moving on.
another podcast.
Last but certainly not least, the man with the cute jacket on. Another international hip hop star,
Yeah.
DJ,
Yeah.
rapper,
Yeah.
professor,
Father,
father,
husband.
husband. Yes.
Make that clear. Husband.
Yes.
Producer.
And does all of those well and is very present since some people like to say black men aren't present in those things. But he is.
Mhm.
Congratulations.
Yeah, busting the stereotype.
So thank you for being on the show. DJ Radar Ellis, how you doing today?
I'm good. How y'all doing?
Good.
Can y'all hear me in your headphones?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're good.
Yeah? Okay, cool.
Cool.
Hey.
So do you have anything exciting coming up?
Um,
Or have done something exciting recently?
yeah, semester just started back up at Berkeley.
Mhm.
So the last few weeks we've been just kind of, trying to get the ground settled. Oh, I teach at Berkeley College of Music in Boston.
Yeah.
Yo.
I'm back in the ensemble department, and we just opened up a new principal instrument. So
What's the principal instrument?
EDI, electronic digital instruments, and
Oh.
so that includes everything that's like a user-controlled or programmable software or hardware.
Mhm.
So everything from like Ableton Live with controllers
Mhm.
to samplers, and we're working on trying to figure out the best way to incorporate turntables right now. So for the past few weeks, I've been getting settled into the semester, and now I'm about to gear up to like write curriculum for a bunch of this stuff. Because they decided to like announce it, and then they were like, "Wait, let's talk to like people who do this." So it's like me and a committee of folks that are figuring that out. And so
You've
that's
been
what
on a
I'm-
lot of committees in your lifetime. I know you used to be on the Grammy committee, or
Yeah, I did
don't
that a
know.
couple years.
Yeah, I did that a
That was
couple
fun.
years.
Yeah.
Have
Um,
what other like exciting opportunities have you had because of your extensive knowledge of hip hop things?
I mean, shit.
The Harvard thing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I wrote for Harvard Hip Hop Archives. I wrote the essay on crate digging / production. Committees. I was on the songwriting department at Berkeley before.
Mhm.
We worked on completely kind of reframing it because a lot of our students were coming in. They weren't writing songs on sheet music first. They were
Mhm.
writing songs on their laptops. So we had
Yeah.
to figure out how to adjust the program to accommodate that. So combination of myself, Aaron Barra, shout out. Dan Cantor,
Shout out to Aaron Barra.
Ronnie Hayes, we were all setting up and just trying to figure out how to make it do what it do. And so we did that. Now I'm doing it, trying to do it for the ensemble department. Tuesday I fly out to Brazil. I'll be out there for a few days.
What
doing
part
some
of
gigs.
Brazil?
We'll be in Sao Paulo and a few other
Sao
places.
Paulo.
Sao Paulo. Did I say it wrong?
No, that's. Sorry, it's a reference to James Brown. Get to
So yeah, we'll be out there. I'll be out there for a few days. It's gonna be Terry Lynn Carrington. It's her gig, and I'll be
Nice.
DJing for her. And Maimouna Youssef is gonna be rocking with us as well.
Sweet, Moo Fresh.
Moo Fresh, yeah. And so that's the next thing. And then just got some gigs for the rest of the month. Jazz. Hold on, what is this? The jazz. Hold on, my man sent it to me. I'm doing this graveyard at the end of the month for this Halloween thing with
Nice.
Rootstock Republic.
Mhm.
So shout out Juliet Jones. She put that together, and I got this gig next weekend and I'm DJing for all of these things. Jazz Foundation of America.
Nice.
So yeah, we're gonna be doing like a tribute to Black Woodstock and stuff. So I'm spinning a lot of tunes based off of artists from back then and the 50-year anniversary.
Mhm.
Shout out to my man Neil Ludovic who put that together.
Nice.
Sorry.
Yeah, but that's what I got in the bag for October.
Awesome. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. And of course today, I'm with y'all.
Yes.
Shout out to the missus in Ellington. They're here.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're
last
gonna
but
get
not
into-
least,
Oh,
least
yeah.
but not she does this
Intros
every
just
time.
have
I got.
we've been going on for a
I
while
know.
with
We'll
the
do.
intros.
We'll
That's
do it.
all.
We'll do it in 2 minutes. Promise.
Okay.
So the Dundada of the podcast, the super solstice of the universe,
What?
Black goddess
Mhm.
personified,
Mm.
entrepreneur, teacher, singer, producer, plays. I don't know how many instruments are in our house right now. Cat whisperer, all things that are beauty and love. And she just happens to be my wife.
Oh.
Miss Dale Novella, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you.
What's going on with you? What's upcoming?
Well, this Wednesday, tonight I have a rehearsal with the Train Walkers, which is Jade's mastermind plan. And for the open mic on Wednesday, from 8 to 11 at Sylvana, come through, get on the mic. I'll be co-hosting this month.
Oh, sweat.
And we just went in the studio to record a single called Good Music. Right now they have it out with just Jade and AD on it. Oh, no, it's not out. But you've probably heard it because it's been everywhere. But now all 6 Train Walkers are on the recording, so that was fun. I'm still working on songs for my upcoming album, which hopefully I'm planning on it to be released on March 8th. I have a couple shows in DC in November,
Nice.
like right before Thanksgiving, and hopefully we'll be starting up like a monthly residency at the Cove Lounge this month. So yeah, it's a lot of stuff. In addition to teaching beat making, poetry, and chorus.
Sweet.
And,
Wow.
and yoga.
And yoga. I teach
Oh,
yoga
okay.
on Tuesdays. But unfortunately, it might have to take a back seat, but yoga finds its way into all my stuff. Because it's important to know how to breathe and get into your body.
That's real
Who-
talk.
It's important.
Who's the 6th train walker, right? It's Jade, AD, Lex Rush,
Troy Weeks.
Jay Lasso, Troy Weeks. How could I
Yeah.
forget about Troy Weeks? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to get in our first video. Actually, our first 2 videos. The first is from Nicole S.G. Oquendo. And then the second one is from Naima Bug.
So I heard that, and I was like, well, for me, that's every day. But I think it's perfect. So I'm going to start off with a poem. It's called Quick Side Note for Hope. I'm standing on the sidewalk right next to my broken soul with a few words that I'd like to share with you. Ever notice how the stars turn white in the night and guide you towards your fairy tale dream? I got some pain, but I'm trying to figure out what's God's plan for me. Because these thoughts in my head are pretty scary. And this feeling in my chest is pretty wary. Take a walk in my shoes for a day, bitch, you wouldn't think I was so cool shit. I bet you run the moment you see the demons I hide inside my Bible. And no, this isn't about survival. More like hope. I drown in my own bloody tears as I cope. But refuse to scream out for help. This is depression. I'm just trying to paint a picture of how it felt. And still deal with daily. Call me crazy, but I like to feel the pain when it's cold and rainy. And my mind is all hazy from this cannabis smoke that I tell on. My mind is so gone, but I'm so on 100. I feel my time is coming. And that's why I didn't leave that night and try to take my own life. God had a plan. He's just waiting for me to figure out who I am. So, still I stand. Thank you.
This type of love is spiritually bound, corrupted by the angels. Oh, the rain spun me round and round.
All right, so that first one was from Nicole S.G. Aquendo, a poet, and it was called Quick Side Note for Hope. And then Naima Bug with Fall. And these two pieces talk about very different things. Nicole is talking about her experience with depression and kind of like talking to God about that. Naima is talking to, we have a fifth panelist, little Ellington Ellis. He might have something to say about the songs.
How do you feel about oppression? No.
Word. No oppression.
But then Naima Bug comes in and she's talking basically to her lover, and her lover has very little faith in the relationship. But she's saying, lean on me, call on to me. And I wanted to talk about this idea of forgiveness and like leaning on the people around us. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, like what exactly does forgiveness mean, and does it mean different things depending on the situation? Like, what does it look like for you?
This is a hot topic currently. You know that, right?
Yeah, because the Botham Jean case, right? And with his brother hugging his murderer, essentially, and he's saying, "Well, this is what my brother would want. I just hope that you find Jesus," and all these things. And with Nicole talking to God in her poem, it really made me think about that case. And then the idea of like leaning on a higher power or leaning on the people that you love. So what does that mean?
So it's funny we even talked about this because I'd stopped posting on Facebook, as I've said numerous times on various platforms, and I started posting again intermittently. Mm-hmm. And I literally posted about this in relation to this case. You know, forgiveness really is, to my understanding, how I understand it, everybody has their different versions of it, and it's funny because I don't consider myself a Christian. I was raised Christian, but I'm not a Christian. But it's really about a way for you to find closure with something that is difficult. So forgiveness is not about like I'm absolving the person or the thing from whatever they did. Yeah. It's more about so that I can release whatever pain or anger or rage and accept it to move on. Mm-hmm. So forgiveness for me is literally that. It's a way to find a closure with specifically with things that maybe not have like a neat, clean resolution. You know, oftentimes, oh no. Forgive us, Ellington.
Yeah, Ellington will not forgive us for dragging him out.
Yeah.
Or for kicking him out.
Yeah. But I mean, there's yeah, it's real. There's so many things in life that don't have like clean, neat breaks and resolutions, and we live with those things once they happen. So how can we find ways to allow ourselves to free ourselves from the burden of whatever that is, whatever pain or anger or rage? So that idea, that concept of forgiveness comes from that, right. To be able to kind of like elevate beyond that. But I think in the public sphere, it's been construed as like we're giving a pass to Amber Geiger. Like now, for me, it's different because the judge is a arm of the law. They should not be showing anything of any note to a convicted murderer. Right. So that
but the brother for you is different.
The brother for me is different, and a lot of it really has to do with the fact that, you know, one, and everybody doesn't necessarily agree with this, but unless you have gone through the death of a family member at the hands of someone, it's very difficult for me to judge how you need to do something to move forward and heal. And there's been political talk around, oh, this is like from slave times, and this is like how religion indoctrines people. And those things are true to an extent, and there's factual and historical things around that it's clear, right? But on an individual note and in a particular moment, it's hard for me to look at someone who's just lost their brother to this tragic event, to something that could have been completely avoidable, for someone's negligence, for someone's lack of someone's humanity. How do you find a way to not hold that forever? And I think in that moment, and I think in his heart, in his spirit, that's what he needed to do so that he could move forward with that. And I don't feel that I have the place. I don't feel that I have the right to tell him, "You've messed it up for black people. You're brainwashed." And all. I'm like,
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. We live in a time where like these things are played out on a stage larger than anybody could ever fathom, right? Like
Right.
previously, this wouldn't be so
public.
people wouldn't be able to have these conversations as often as they do and about these things.
Yeah.
And it's like there is a duality in like the what's personally right and then what's right in the greater scheme of things, right? Like, you know, it's like Mos Def said in Umi Says, sometimes I don't want to be a soldier, sometimes I just want to be a man, you know? And it's like, but as a soldier, as somebody who understands the place of black people in America, the station that marginalized people go through, the way the systems work and stuff like that, yes, seeing something like that is kind of like frustrating, right? But just on a personal level, right? So your brother just died. This person obviously regrets their decision. Their life is forever changed for it. And maybe you don't want to like hate them for the rest of your life. You know what I'm saying? But and then there's so many levels to it, right? Because like even if you were truly Christian, if you were truly Christian, then death isn't the end of everything. So then like your fury over death is kind of misplaced, but that's a whole other conversation. You know what I'm saying? But you know, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to say what forgiveness is for other people.
Yeah.
Forgiveness could be in America. Like we're a revenge-based country.
Yeah,
All-
we definitely are.
all
Every
of
other
our-
movie that comes out is
Bad.
essentially a cowboy film.
All
where
of our
someone's
heroes
getting
take matters
revenge
into their
for
own
something.
hands.
Yeah, they're
Like,
all vigilantes.
There's no hero who's like, damn, they wronged me. I'm gonna let the courts decide this.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
It's always the court has failed us. Now I must,
Yeah.
John McClane.
practice Muay Thai in Thailand for 20 years
Dirty
and now come
Harry,
back and kill
Bruce
everyone.
Wayne.
John McClane doesn't wait for the authorities before he goes in and does what he needs to do.
Yeah.
So much
And
property
even more
damage.
recent
And we celebrate him
recent
for that.
movies like Proud Mary with Taraji P. Henson. Like it's essentially the same movie as Mel Gibson had a movie called The Big Payback. It's the same movie, it's just the main character is black, a black woman. Like, but it has that idea of revenge and getting back and yeah.
Even the whole thing with Obama and all of that is like, we gotta get him back, and it's like,
Yeah.
you can never really get somebody back for something. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like you're just doing something else fucked up.
To
I don't know.
perpetuate the violence.
Yeah.
I don't know.
True.
What do you think, Radar?
You know, in watching the results of that case, I was like, all right, I get it. You know, like he needed to do that for himself, in my eyes. You know,
Yeah.
because it's not really just like forgiving that person; it's forgiving yourself for whatever kind of thing you're gonna feel. If towards that person you don't want to hold that,
Yeah.
I totally get it. I agree. It's not something I would have thought the judge should have done.
Yeah.
But, you know, if I had a brother and he was slain, I don't know how I would have reacted. But, you know, it's a telling thing because I was watching a lot of social media responses. And it's just like, damn, man, for black people, is we see one thing and it just sets off so much in the
Triggered.
community. Like
Yeah.
one hug becomes all of these. And I saw the specific difference between like my black friends tweeting and posting on Facebook and whatever, and my white friends. And my white friends, it was just like another day. For my black
Yeah.
friends, it was like this long back and forth, deep conversations about what it means to us and what it's meant to us over all these years. And it's just like,
it's triggering
It
to
is.
see that
Yeah.
kind of behavior. I mean, a very similar thing happened a few years ago with the Charleston shooting, where the victims' families forgave Dylan Roof for what he did, and for me, that kind of forgiveness, I don't think I would be able to get, because
Yeah.
that kid knew what he was doing.
yeah,
He planned it out for like months.
yeah,
He went with hate in his heart to a church, to one of the oldest black churches in the country, for a landmark, and killed more than one person.
Yeah.
Like, in this situation, I'm like, okay, this woman is an idiot. Her life is ruined. Apparently, she's sorry. I can get that. For me, forgiveness does look different depending on the situation, but I don't know if I'm.
But
Yeah, like in this situation, in the Botham Jean situation, maybe I could forgive, but in greater things like with the Charleston shooting, I don't think I'd ever be able to
But
forgive
even
that guy.
even if you look at that, right? Like, what is what does their feeling do other than affect them at that time? You know what I'm saying? And that's where forgiveness like really comes into play, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, let's say somebody does you the most dirty, right? You could, like, every minute you spend thinking about that person, every minute you spend in that anger, in that like that want to see them hurt or whatever, is like time that you forfeit to them. You know?
Yeah, it's time. It's energy
Right.
that you take away from yourself,
Especially
and doesn't change the result. It's not as
Right.
if like the more you hate and the
Right.
more you wish for this
I'm
to
gonna hate you
thing,
so hard.
It's going to be worse for them. And in fact, more than likely, they're literally operating in an existence that's completely different
But
and separate.
and especially in the Dylan Roof situation, right? Because he's caught. Whatever the wheels are already in motion. So like, you know, I could understand if like if it felt like there was, if they didn't trust the justice system, which there's a large body of evidence to not trust it, and it looks like he was about to get off, I could understand like being motivated to like make sure that doesn't happen, right? But the kid got sentenced to death. He threw his life away in this heinous act that he did, and like while like forgiveness isn't the same thing as absolution. You know, the forgiveness isn't the same thing as like you've done nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is just means like I'm gonna let go of this negative shit that I've got.
Right. It's not
You know?
justifying anything. It's just like I'm good with no longer holding this.
Yeah.
Right. There's people in this planet that like I definitely like I try not to hold animosity towards anybody. That should just whack. But at the end of the day, that does not mean I want to like sit down and have like lunch with you or like hang out with you or work with you at any level. It's just like, hey man, at the end of the day, I'm not letting that shit bother me.
Yeah. Well, you said something to flip on the other side of it, and it's what I was trying to do with my post, and what makes it complex for me as well, Radar, is, you know, there is this unfortunate burden that we as black people, especially in America, I would say all black people around the world probably do, but definitely I'll speak as a African American, as a black man in America. You know, we have this social responsibility, and because of the internet, something that would be very private. You know, that was the other thing that felt weird to me. It's like, I don't feel like I'm supposed to be involved in this very private thing
Private
that
moment,
you're
yeah.
doing. It's your family. It's your loss. I really don't feel that I have a right to be making judgments on that, because it's not something that affects me and my family in that same way. It's not my loss. But when we as black people recognize that this person did not really, justice was not truly carried, then it becomes a loss for me.
Yeah.
Because it's this largest, it becomes a conflation of absolution,
Right,
like
'cause
you're
it's
talking about.
It's a
And
part
that's
of a
what's like,
pattern.
don't let them realize that. And it becomes this thing where it's like, now the social responsibility as you as a black person begins to sort of outweigh your own personal humanity as to what you need to do to move forward. And that's what's so unfortunate about it, and what makes it so complex, because you kind of do have that. You can't just like say you
Well,
don't
I mean,
have
but what
that
if you never?
responsibility.
What if
but-
you never thought about it before, right? Like we don't know this black man's life. Like,
Sure.
and that's the thing is, it's like, like yeah, these like police shootings and the justice not being served in police shootings has become a systemic problem. Like it's a pattern that people realize, especially when it involves you know, victims of black victims. You know, so it's like. And the story is outrageous. You know, a woman goes into someone else's house,
basically
fears-
breaking and entering.
fears for her life, and just immediately shoots him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I get it. If you walked into your house and you thought there was somebody there, whatever. But it's not the isolated incident. In the isolated incident, like you're saying, there's maybe a much heavier weight of compassion, of human, of humanity. But when it becomes part of the pattern, when it becomes part of the systemic situation, when it becomes part of the overall national dialogue, that's when, and maybe it's not up for him.
Yeah.
Maybe the brother doesn't need to be the one to do it, but maybe this just needs to be examined. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for
because
sure.
there was that woman who she lied to get her daughter into a better school.
Oh yeah.
And
You
Yeah.
talking about all those celebrities that did that?
No. A black woman
In Baltimore.
lied
Oh.
to get her daughter into a better school. She said
Yeah.
lied on what district
School,
she was
yeah,
in.
school
Okay.
district.
And she got sent away for more time than this woman did.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's
Because
you know,
everyone in the hood does that. They lie to get something.
I mean, those people who put together that
But-
whole ring of things
Yeah.
didn't get any time.
Yeah, but
Well,
but
no,
the
they
flip
got, like,
to that,
10
so do
days.
rich people.
Right.
You know what I mean? Everybody in the hood
And-
lied to
and
get stuff, and so do rich
probation.
people.
Yeah, 10 days, like 10 days in probation.
And that's the
Yeah.
that's the systemic problem. You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like these are all isolated incidents, but when you look at them and with the patterns and
Yeah.
on a larger scale, it becomes a different thing entirely.
And let's not forget too about that pattern. Amber Geiger, essentially, if she was not a cop, if we just were like looking at the straight facts, essentially first and foremost breaking and entering. Then we consider, and this is what I've always long standing been saying about police brutality and the way our systems work. It's a lack of poor training and
Oh,
and a
without a
poor
shadow of
and
a
a,
doubt.
and a poor system of finding people with the right like fortitude and character. It doesn't matter if it's a man or woman police officer. So you go in one. It was stated in the court case. Totally went against standard police academy training and procedure. When you enter into a situation where there could be an active shooter or your threat, you are to retreat and call for backup. This is in the court documents. She didn't do that.
Well,
she
she
did not
also-
call for backup. She did not retreat from the premise. She actually pursued. So in her own training as a police officer, she failed.
But
Thirdly,
she also wasn't like she wasn't
Yeah,
on the
she-
job.
Right.
but actually the way it
Still a
works
cop.
is it
Yeah.
does not. It actually does
'Cause-
not matter.
yeah.
You are
the
effectively a cop
expectation,
all of the
the
time.
expectation if you're law enforcement or if you're in the military, your training takes effect regardless of where you are. Even when I was in the reserves, they were like, you're not just a Marine 2 days out of the month.
Right.
You're a
Right.
Marine every single
day.
day, all day.
And internal affairs will hold you to that. So there's no like
Right.
get out of like jail free cards. Like, oh well, I was off duty. It's like if you have your badge and your piece, if you are an active officer, that's what it is. Third and final thing, really quick, did not at any point give proper CPR or delayed at 911. So when you look at that, to your point about the pattern systemic, it's not an image of like, oh wow, it was just a mistake,
Oh, yeah.
and I just got freaked out and shocked. It's like, no, every single point of that situation, protocol and procedure was
Well-
actively broken. So now we go, you're a convicted murderer. So now we say this is more than 10 years because you literally aided and abetted into the death and
Right,
destruction of a human being, and you had said training, and that's what makes it so. And again, pulling it back, listening, I think that's what the horror and the outrage is for people that do feel like he shouldn't forgive or show that forgiveness because
Just
it
a-
isn't just a mistake.
Sorry, just
Yeah.
a little note. I don't think we can say aiding and abetting because that implies that there was some other act going on that she was literally aiding and allowing to happen.
Well,
so
my
like this
understanding
was
is she called the boyfriend, the dude that she was sexting, and there was some type of commentary back and forth about what she was supposed to do
but
or
that was
not
still
do.
Was
after
it- was
the
it-
fact. Aiding
was
and
it
abetting
clear?
is like
Oh,
something
yeah,
that's
yeah.
like
Actually-
before already happening. Like if the boyfriend was in the house, like holding him hostage, and she came in and shot
Did she
him.
know that she was in the wrong place at that time?
She
once,
claims not, right?
once she shot him, she did. Like it was after fact.
Right, because
Yeah.
you can't it don't take that long to stand in someone else's house to realize this is not your
Not your
house.
house.
Yeah.
But also, never mind. I forgot what I was gonna say.
I'm just tired of the duality, trying to like live, because when all that happened, it was like, all right, what does this mean like personally to me, and now
Yeah.
what does this mean to black people?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and every time something like this happens, like it just happened, like in another instance, in a joyous sense, like can't even fully enjoy things with Simone Biles, and she just had like this whole thing at some sort of gymnastics competition where she executed some moves that
Right.
weren't ever done before, and now they
Wow.
want to penalize her for that.
'Cause- yeah,
Similar
because
thing
she's-
that happened with basketball where they tried to take the dunk away.
Yeah,
Right.
there was a
You're doing
black
things that
French
everyone
ice
can't
skater
do.
who used to do all those things.
Yeah,
too.
same thing with the ice
Yeah.
skater. She had
Yeah.
like this crazy backflip kind of thing.
And they were like, "No, we don't do that in ice skating."
Yeah.
Which
Thanks.
and now it's like a perfect head move.
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
they put it in.
Or even her, she didn't like wearing tights while she skated, so she would wear like leg makeup so it looked like it. And once they found that out, they like
Oh, wow.
penalized her. It's like
Same thing with Serena Williams.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
But
and
it's
she
just
was
like-
doing shit for her health.
But
Like,
Yeah.
it's also another psychological thing, right? Because at the end of the day, like the white woman is the victim of the world, right? You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like on the
or that's how they're seen.
right
yeah,
on the
many
scale of
times.
like who gets the most sympathy over something, like the white women, like, and also like her being a white woman crying in court like that, it's looked at differently. Guarantee you, if a black man walked into a house that he thought was his and shot a white woman, we wouldn't even have a trial. Like, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
He would have gotten shot there.
Right.
by the
Under
police.
the jail,
Because-
not in it.
because-
Under
he
the
wouldn't have
jail.
made it,
And this is
or he
He'd
wouldn't
be
have made
dead.
it through the night if he got to jail.
And this is the conversation because like black men are looked at as threatening on psychologically on a level that is getting us killed.
From gate
Like Dylan Ruth was how old?
18.
he
Was
was
he
he was
18?
he was
Yeah,
older.
He
Okay.
wasn't old enough to drink.
He was
Yeah.
older than Mike Brown. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And Mike Brown is they tried to claim that he was a grown ass man. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
In height,
Right.
not in like
But
maturity.
like if you've only spent 16, 17 years on this planet, you've only spent 16, 17 years on
Yeah.
this planet. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter how you developed, you
Yeah.
know? But it's like, they look at Dylan Ruth, and it's like, oh, this poor kid, he threw his life away, get him some Burger King. They look at Mike Brown, and it's like, leave him dead in the street because we found him threatening. And like, this is like the sickening part of the world. It's like, or maybe it's the conversation that like people, what's the kid? The kid that they drove up and shot him in the park. Oh, man.
Tamir Rice
Tamir Rice,
Oh, yeah.
12 years old.
and
Yeah.
had a toy gun.
12 years
and
old.
someone had called him in as a black man with a gun
They
just waving it around.
didn't
and, yeah.
hesitate. So, like, you know, like I would be shocked if there was ever an example of them pulling up on a 12-year-old white boy or girl and gunning them down immediately.
Never happened.
Right, because psychologically, it's the way people view black men. That woman walked into that house, saw a black man in there.
And freaked out.
He didn't
yeah.
have a gun. He wasn't trying to attack her or hurt her or anything. It's just a black man in her house, so he needs to get shot. Like, you know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
While eating ice cream.
If it was
Yep.
if you just took 2 seconds, like you have the gun, and he's definitely not coming at you.
Yeah.
Like to be like, what are you doing in my house? And he'd be like, this is my house, and you would be like, oh shit, I'm a fucking idiot, and
Yeah.
everyone's life goes on
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
tragedy.
You
Yeah.
might have even made a friend. You can laugh about it. He might have offered you some ice cream.
I am not laughing. I am not laughing at no motherfucker that got a
Same
gun in
thing-
my house pointed at me while I'm eating ice cream.
I
like,
mean, but
we-
but that's what we're saying.
Yeah.
Like she
Same
should have
thing.
taken a moment and not even pulled
I-
her
no,
gun.
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
she
of
could have
course,
kept
yeah.
it in the holster and just had her hand on it,
All
and
types
you
of
know,
stuff.
or
Same
just
thing
not
with
even
Trayvon
thought about
Martin.
that.
yeah.
You know, Trayvon Martin is a kid walking through a neighborhood. That's all
That he
was.
lives in.
Yeah.
But I mean, even beyond that, like a kid walking through a neighborhood, you should not ever get into an altercation where you have to shoot someone who has no intent in getting into an altercation with you.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's like you see, they see a black man or a black child, and they like the threat is there before the interaction is even there.
Right.
It's like you approach him with a gun. You're like, you know,
Right.
guns
Yeah.
only have one use. They don't toast bread. They don't fucking, you know what I'm saying?
They don't tell the weather.
They don't staple papers together.
Nope.
They end lives. It's the only, like, if you have a gun on you, then that's what you're going to use it to do.
They take
Or
life.
I mean, you can debilitate someone. You can shoot them in the leg. Like it doesn't always
Right, but
have to
even
be
in
a
shooting them in
life
the leg,
ending. Yeah,
you-
and that's
you-
another reason why this cop is such an idiot, or this woman was such an idiot because she could have shot him in like the leg
But even,
and just
even
debilitated.
doing stuff like that, you don't.
Like,
you can
Yeah.
still end someone's life shooting.
Isn't
him in
that
the
part
leg.
of police training
can.
anyway? Like the
Yeah.
first shot, you're supposed to try to
Well, when my
Yeah.
mother was in corrections, but it might be different because they're corrections officers. They trained to shoot center mass.
Oh,
it
wow,
Was,
okay.
It was. It was.
that
it was.
shouldn't be. That
was-
shouldn't be the case at all.
It was.
But
It was to stop them because ultimately, what's going to actually do it is the caliber of the bullet.
Yeah.
So if you have like a 30 caliber bullet or whatever have you,
Mm-hmm.
like that's not. You have to be shot a whole bunch of times, like straight in the head. So like, it's the idea is like, if you're coming at me, I gotta shoot at the thing that's the biggest target. So
Yeah.
you're
Well,
gonna like.
you know, to me, that's a little fucked up. And that, right now, we're gonna hear how Nefertiti Gold was fucked up by some dude.
Wow.
Thank
right. That was Old Girl by Nefertiti Gold. And she tells a story of a man who kind of just like, you're the queen of my world. I love you so much. And then they fuck. And then all of a sudden he's like, well, you ain't my girl, so I can do whatever I want. So it's kind of like a bait and switch situation. The last few months, there's been discussion about non-U.S. citizen veterans not being able, or naturalized citizens who are serving in the military, not being able to pass on their citizenship to their children if they are born abroad. Like, let's say if I get pregnant and I'm stationed somewhere else, if I'm stationed in Italy, my child is not a U.S. citizen.
Oh, wow.
If I were many immigrants who come to the country undocumented try to enlist in the military in order to speed along that process. So let's say I was coming from somewhere let's just say I was coming from Mexico, then my child, if I'm stationed in Iraq, wouldn't have citizenship.
Yeah.
And to me, that kind of seemed like a bait and switch, very similar to this situation that Nefertiti Gold is talking about. And I wanted to hear kind of like y'all opinions on that.
Shit.
On the naturalization thing?
Yeah. I mean, should your child, if you're a naturalized citizen, you're fighting for this country, should your children also be able to have citizenship?
Yes.
Yeah.
In countries that are similar to us, what is their policies? Does anybody know? Like if in Paris and England, and is it the same thing? Like if you,
I think England, it's really hard to get citizenship. Like one of your parents has to be, I think one of your parents has to be full blood British, have full British citizenship.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Like-
think most places in the EU, it's like that. I have a friend of mine that lives in Sweden, and he went through an almost 2-year process, and he married a Swede,
yeah,
and that was not enough for him. Now, obviously, here is a similar thing,
yeah,
but like it wasn't as stringent to actually like prove that.
Yeah.
So I don't know how the official.
it's interesting, right? Because like America wasn't always like, it was always kind of like, you know, give me your tired, your weak, your masses yearning to breathe free, but right, but like it was also very isolationist country for a long period of time,
Yeah.
right? And like I don't know, like I can't necessarily find faults in being isolationist on its own merit intrinsically. The reason that we're heading in that direction now is kind of fucking disgusting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The fascism, white nationalism, and shit like that is something. So like the reason behind these things, I can't really fuck with at all. You know, the law behind it all, like I don't know if it's like the worst thing or the best thing. At the end of the day, it's like, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
You know, like if we had a population crisis in America, then maybe like there'd be, but like that's not why they're doing it. They're doing it because we've got you know, an orange Teletubby in office, and that motherfucker.
You know, that's a real insult to Teletubbies. Teletubbies brought
those
joy.
things
That's
were
true.
disgusting. No,
They were a little weird, but they were joyful.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just saying, like, I can't get behind anything that this administration is doing because all the reasons behind what they're doing seem insidious and clandestine. You know,
Mhm.
insidious.
It's very strange because, like, usually Republican governments, and Republican administrations tend to push the military and do a lot of good things for the military.
It's a
Right.
And
rare
yeah,
situation that they
yeah,
didn't pan out that way.
yeah.
You know what's funny too? Sorry, it always bugs me out when like people try to like say, well, the Republicans did this once. It's like they'll bring up that like Lincoln was a Republican or some shit like.
Yeah,
no,
but that
the
was
party
was
completely different.
Yeah.
You talking about that
Essentially-
Kanye Sunday service?
Yeah, essentially, like the Democratic Party and Republican Party switched
Yeah.
around the time of like the Kennedys. Like at that time,
Like a-
the Democrats were the racist party. They were the Dixiecrats. Like Strom Thurmond
Right.
filibustered, who was a senator from South Carolina who was raising his black daughter in secret. At the same time, filibustered for a full 24 hours, to, like about segregation and all these other things about Jim Crow laws. So that was a completely different thing. And after
Yo,
that, he
fam.
became a Republican.
Yeah.
Like after after like John F. Kennedy and the Democrats started being the more liberal party, he became a Republican, and many Dixiecrats did. So like that.
Yeah.
I really wish people would stop.
I feel like if you sign up for a gig on the country's behalf, especially if it's a gig where like part of the job description is taking bullets,
Yeah.
or you kind of like. You deserve to be able to like have your kid be a U.S. citizen.
Yeah.
I'll even go further. Pick a
Can't fight
state
with
when
that.
you come back. Whichever one doesn't have income tax or a better business tax, something like that. You pick a state where you want to
What if they allow the kid and not the spouse,
allow the kid,
but not the spouse?
like what the spouse to be.
Like the kid is a U.S. citizen, but the
No,
spouse
bring
is
them all
on
in,
there.
man. There's bullets out there.
Okay, you
Yeah.
Bullets and drones and bombs.
bullets,
Yeah.
drones, and bombs. Oh my!
Just,
And
All
just
for us.
general
You know what?
hate
you
for
can do
Americans,
that.
you know?
Just
Like-
say you're actually not about freedom. That's fine. If you don't
Yeah.
want to do that, but just don't purport yourself to be this arbiter of freedom. Then
That would
because
change
if-
the game.
Of course, but if you're asking for people to give the ultimate sacrifice,
Yeah.
Yeah.
then the very least you can do.
That's
Right.
the thing. It's the ultimate sacrifice.
You right.
Yeah. And
Like,
you're
you
expected
right.
to do it. And you brought up, just pick a state. Pick a state that doesn't have taxes and stuff. And earlier, Mikal and I were discussing this idea that companies can like sponsor a town. As we were talking about like the Flint water crisis, how it's still going on. The government
Yeah.
has still not done enough. And what if instead of lobbying the government, we started lobbying companies to
Oh,
fix these
no.
problems?
Oh, that's a rough one.
Yeah.
But like there have been whole towns built around warehouses, built around
Yeah.
Hershey, Pennsylvania.
But
Like
that-
that's a whole thing. So could there be a situation like that where a company developed a town just for veteran families or
It'd
just
be
for
Amazon if
families that were
anybody.
like, yeah.
Amazon will do that first.
Why do you say Amazon?
Because they got the most money and they got the ability to do that. They can show up with a strip of land and just be
They
like,
were-
"This
they
is
were
an
trying to do
Amazon
something like
town."
that in New York.
Emma Town.
Yeah.
Amazon town, yo, come
Yeah.
through here, no income tax,
Yeah.
no whatever. If you're a soldier, this and
Yeah.
that. You think, yo, they get free Prime shipping.
You have to
Sign
order
me
everything
up.
from Whole Foods. Everything comes from Whole
everything
Foods.
Whole Foods.
Yeah. Well, I'll say for me, to that point, and we were talking about this on the way up.
Mhm.
My own thing is just simply like corporations basically can't be for the public good because their private interests will supersede what the public good needs because
Yeah.
if they will never want to operate at a loss and they will want to maximize profit, and for businesses profit is infinite. They do not have a belief that there's a cap on growth, so they
Yeah.
would never get into a product or a project rather that would mean that for some reason they'd have to plateau growth in any way, shape, form, or fashion, and we don't have the regulatory power to enforce them to do that. We're not we haven't our government's gone away from that to such
Yeah.
a degree. So it's like in theory it should be that. It's like wow, you have the most resources, you have like the best resources. Why not give a little bit of that for the public good? But it's within the DNA of how privatization works.
It's in the
It just
DNA
won't
of
happen.
capitalism. Capitalism is always
Yeah.
making more money last year than you did the year
Yeah.
before. Everything
And
else,
exploiting the
everything
labor
else,
force.
With
everything
that
else
said,
being damned.
If you, Dale, become a billionaire, you could do it and break
I
that
mean,
chain.
if I
mean,
was a
if
billionaire,
you
I would
could.
definitely do something like that.
If I was a wealthy girl.
But see that the problem with that is
Yeah.
the only way to become a billionaire is exploiting people. There's
Yeah.
no other way around it. Like
yeah,
you,
thusly-
can't,
basically.
you can't make
Thusly-
a bajillion dollars without.
I
someone
mean, I
dying for
could,
it.
I could divorce Mikal, marry some old rich white man,
Whoa.
and then when he died, inherit all his
Cue the
money,
music.
and then
Cue
I
the
could
music. Cue the
remarry
music.
Mikal.
Whoa. Yeah, I saw you slip that in there. That was funny. Cue the music.
Wasn't ready for that one.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's not easy.
There you go.
See, just for the black man on the street. Man.
But the real.
Damn.
I mean, maybe
I
she'll
would
put
still
you
be
in the world,
taking
though.
care of you. You know how Coco Chanel founded her first hat company, her first store.
You
She
gonna
was
tell
sleeping
us.
around with a billionaire, but her
Hey.
and her boyfriend was sleeping around with a female heiress
Is this
in another
indecent
country.
proposal? That's what we're doing?
No, they just they pooled the money they were getting
Thank you
from
for the
their
reference.
rich,
Depends on how much money's
partners
involved. It could be a
pooled
decent
it
proposal.
and opened her hat shop in Paris.
Oh, wow.
So that's
gangster.
and I mean Gabrielle Chanel continued to do that throughout her career. That's
Top
how she
off.
made it through World War II and got most of her company back from Jewish investors because she sold them out to the SS. But you know,
Whoa.
Whoa.
she's kind of a bitch. But you know,
Did not know that.
you can.
That's gangster.
She grew up as an orphan.
That's gangster.
And
Not
you
the
can
only
say
Coco
she was
Chanel.
just like, I'm not going back to the projects. Basically,
Hurt
she had
people,
that
hurt
mindset.
people.
So I guess,
Gangster.
yeah.
Only Coco Chanel I acknowledge from now on is the DJ version.
Yeah.
Because I can't.
Yeah.
Holy wow! Did not know that.
Yeah.
Freaking see, the issue is the government. There's no what do you call it when you have to answer to somebody?
Accountability.
There's no accountability to like people anymore. There's no accountability. Like the only time they come to people is during election seasons, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, there's more accountability to corporations. There's more accountability to businesses and things like that. So that and lobbyist groups, right?
Yeah.
That's why the NRA has such a big pull, because it's like, yo, this is where the money comes from.
Right.
So when like things that happen in America is fucking nuts.
Well, it's kind of thing that you bring that up because Dale, you're talking about like these companies fixing things. I remember when Domino's fixed like the potholes. And all that
Oh,
stuff. There was like an
yeah.
article, and they kind of took matters into their own hands. But then when you talk about like our government, it's kind of like the secondary like line because they're
Yeah.
getting money from these corporations.
Yeah,
so they're
and that's what I
operating
was-
on a corporate interest.
And
Right.
what I'm thinking is like if America is actually a business or run by the businesses of America, why are we lobbying to the government and not the businesses?
yeah,
That's
the
my
government
idea.
is supposed to have.
Yeah,
We're supposed to have
but
the
like we're not
interest, but
being
they don't.
realistic with
Yeah,
that.
that's not realistic.
Yeah, we're not
I
being
mean, it could
realistic
be-
with
In
that.
action, it's not happening.
It could
Yeah,
be
yeah.
realistic. I always feel like, yo, public servants should not have, like, your salary should be capped. It should be like a certain amount of money you're able to make as a public service. If you go into the life to be a governor or a president or something like that,
Yeah.
it shouldn't be a bajillion-dollar gig. It should be
Yeah.
a very humble gig that you do for the responsibility of it, not for the money of it. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And in that, you would weed out a lot of people who
Yeah.
do it for the financial gain of it all.
Well, I
costs-
definitely don't think the president should get like like his salary at the time he was president for like the rest of his life. I think that's something that we need to cut back
I'm
on.
cool with that.
But like
That's a
personally,
rough
I don't really think so.
Okay.
But we're running out of time, unfortunately. Maybe we can start finishing conversations on like Snapchat or something. If you think that that's something you'd want to watch, or we can do it on Instagram Live, then let us know. You can like send us a DM. But thank you for listening.
Thank you for
all my
listening.
panelists for being here. We're gonna take it out with "Get That Money" from Troy Weeks, a fellow train walker. Y'all have a great week.
Peace, peace.
Short weeks and 6 days.
Yo,